Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sip and Simmer with me, Anita Manager. Tonight we are going to be making white bread, and I want to start with my apologies to all of my Jewish friends and fans. I lost track of the days because of being stuck in the house, and happy Passover. I was planning on making something not leavened, but here we are. I've been baking bread since 11 o'clock this morning to get this all ready for you. So we will be having leavened bread today. My apologies. I'm going to butcher this, but I married a Jew and Pesach Hameah. All right, so in keeping with the track of Bread Week, I have my co-star, Miss Sienna Rose.
Hold for applause, hold for applause. Hello, I am here.
Okay, so tonight we are going to be making leavened bread during the first night of Passover.
Yes, we will.
How about tonight we switch things up a little bit,
Okay.
and you make me a beverage.
Oh, girl. Okay, I hope you like it strong.
Oof.
Even though it's already pre-measured. Okay, so tonight we're going to be making a maple whiskey. What that means, you're going to need 1.5 ounces of whiskey. I'm going to assume I'm going to put it in here.
Yep.
Okay, oh, that opens like that. So everybody knows, don't pull it by this, pull it by this part. Sometimes
So
this
just
one.
to give you a heads up,
Okay.
she did pick the recipe.
I did, and that's as far as I got.
I did triple it because
Okay.
it makes a small glass. So if you follow the steps that Sienna gives you, it's going to make like an actual whiskey drink. We don't drink like that.
No, we don't.
So I have it tripled here. So
Perfect.
the first 3 are the whiskey.
Perfect. Oh, the first 3. So this equals 1.5?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to do 1.5 ounces of whiskey. Pour these all in here. Try not to make a mess.
It's always fun to have your drinks pre-measured too, so that way, as you're going through the evening, you have everything ready for you when you're ready for your next one.
It's fine. Just have a heavy hand. You're fine. Okay. Next, we're going to do 1 ounce of lemon juice. Okay, and then we're going to do 3 to 4 teaspoons of maple syrup. Ooh, that smells great.
And that's the Trader Joe's maple syrup, so it's delicious.
Ooh, yes.
It tastes fresh.
Okay, and this is empty. Perfect.
Nope.
No? What is
That
this?
is our dash of cinnamon.
That's it. A dash of cinnamon. We're just going to sprinkle that in here. Give it a nice little kick. Okay, then we're going to put this baby back on here.
I would use
I'm going
the-
to grab the handy towel, and we're going to give her a shake.
So I think that it would be fun to add a dash of cayenne also to this. With all that sweetness from the maple syrup, I think cayenne pepper, when I say a pinch, I mean like the smallest, itziest bit into this, I think would give it such a nice flavor, a little bit of a smoky flavor.
How many lids does this thing have? Help.
There you
Okay.
go. And hold the towel.
Yeah.
And that, if Sienna can do it and measure it perfectly like that, anybody can do it. And you're gonna wanna make sure to pour this into a shorter whiskey glass because you don't want it to sit out for too long because whiskey, once it gets warm, isn't very good. If you like it neat, go for it, but I like my whiskey cold, like really cold. So that's why we went with the whiskey glasses.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
And tonight we'll be sipping these.
Sipping?
Sipping.
Okay.
Cheers.
Let's sip and simmer. Cheers.
That is so much better than I thought it was gonna be.
You know, I'm not a whiskey girl, but I do like this.
The maple syrup actually gives it such a good flavor, and I love whiskey, but I thought that it was gonna be super sweet, but it has a nice little kick with the lemon juice.
Right, and it's just sweet enough for somebody like me who likes big sweet drinks. This is perfect for me.
This is absolutely delicious.
You're welcome.
Okay, so to get started with our white bread, so this is just your standard white bread for making sandwiches. You can serve it with dinner, you can have it with olive oil. Super versatile. Tonight I did prep my yeast so that way all of you could see what it actually looks like. So here I have a 1.25 cups of warm water. with sugar and yeast in it. And I also want to apologize and correct myself.
Okay, go for it.
The other day I said that you don't put your sugar in the water. I misspoke. I meant just don't put salt in the water. If your recipe does call for sugar, put at least a tablespoon of sugar in the warm water with the yeast and it'll help activate it and feed it.
Okay.
Because yeast is a living microorganism and it needs something to eat when it comes back to life, basically. So, once your yeast is activated, it's gonna look super frothy. I don't know if you can see this. What I'm gonna do is, on the post that I do after the show, I'll take a picture of this and I will post it. So, while I get everything else into the mixer, if somebody could just take a picture of this from above. Okay, so I like to put everything for my white bread in the mixer in a specific order for a specific reason.
Right.
Okay, so in my stand mixer here with
the dough hook,
my Captain Dough Hook.
Learning. See, this is educational. Maybe we can get like a tax credit or something.
Okay, so first here I have 3 tablespoons of lard. Lard is Crisco, any kind of shortening, just to add a little bit of fat to the dough. So I put that in first.
Okay.
And because of TV magic, like I tripled our whiskey recipe, this recipe is cut in half because it makes 2 loaves. You're gonna watch the process of making 1 loaf because I did make 3 other loaves to prepare for tonight so you could see it in all of its stages.
Look at that. We love a queen that's prepared.
Right? So just make sure that you do as I say, not as I do. The worst saying my father ever said to me growing up. But we won't get into therapy this evening.
Oh, wow.
So in my stand mixer, I have 3 tablespoons of vegetable shortening. And then I have the salt. The reason that I put the salt below the flour is because I spoke correctly the other day when I said, if you put your yeast directly on the salt will kill the yeast and you won't get enough leaven out of the bread. So from there, I'm gonna add all of my flour. A lot of recipes call for you to add it slowly, but for white bread, I feel like if you put it in the stand mixer, it's gonna do all the work for you. And the good thing that my father taught me is work smart, not hard.
Okay.
So I've got my shortening, I've got my salt, I've got my flour, and then in goes my water with the sugar and the yeast. When you're pouring this, you don't need to get all of the sugar in. The water is gonna be sweet enough. The majority of the purpose of the sugar in this recipe is to feed the yeast, okay?
Right.
So in this, I have a quarter cup of, a cup and a quarter of warm water, and you want it between 100 and 105 degrees. I have 7 grams of yeast, and that's about 1 packet. And then I have 3 tablespoons of sugar. I use Crisco for a myriad of things.
Like what?
All cooking.
Okay.
We won't go there, Jasmine.
So you thought you could avoid the question because you threw in a big word? Okay.
Of course. That's how this works.
Right. So Anita, let's say you had a tagline. What would it be?
I washed my hands.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I think my tagline would be hit the Venmo, which is Sienna Rose official.
And Anita _ Manager. And like we say every night, thankfully we are happy and comfortable with where we are.
We're comfortable with where we are. Okay, we're happy.
But all the money from the Venmo does go to all of the recipes. I sent my husband Aaron on a wild goose hunt looking for flour, and he found it. Yes, he found us. We have 20 pounds of flour now.
Wow.
That's enough to get us through another
excessive.
2 weeks. We went through 20 pounds of flour in the first 2 weeks of Sip and Simmer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, like I said, all of your money does go to all of this. It does take a lot to produce this, especially when we do things that have so many steps. It does take not only my entire day, I'm not doing anything else, but it does take a lot of product.
Much like our faces, they take a lot of product.
I actually found yeast, and also with that picture that I post, I am also going to post a link for the yeast that I found on Instagram. Not Instagram, Amazon. They said that it wouldn't be here until the middle of May, and it came in 3 or 4 days.
Come on, Amazon.
If you need
yes.
yeast, I will be posting the link for it. It was about $30, and it's a full pound of yeast. As long as you keep it in the refrigerator, it'll last at least a year.
Okay.
The flour he actually got at Stop and Shop on Connecticut Avenue in Norwalk, the one across the street from ShopRite. They are getting deliveries every other day, from what we were told. And they did get yeast this morning, but it was gone by 11 a.m. And a major shout out to my Aunt Virginia, who supplied the flour before Erin found any
Yes.
to the first loaf that I made today, which will be the final loaf that we see later.
First
follow
loaf
that?
was the final loaf. What happened to the second loaf? Aaron's flour?
Yes.
Then I don't want that bread.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my stand mixer on and I'm gonna let it do all the work. I'm gonna let it mix until all of the ingredients are combined and it's a solid mass, all right?
Okay.
So, while this happens, you were all here the other day when I made my sourdough and it was not sour enough, we'll say.
Okay.
I jumped the gun on my starter and it was not ready, so the dough did not come out the way that I wanted it.
Right. The TV magic failed us.
The TV magic failed us.
I blame the production assistants.
It looked beautiful, but when we cut it open, it was less than beautiful. So, when life gives you
Sour?
bad bread, you make breadcrumbs, right?
Okay. Sure.
There's nothing wrong with using bad bread. So, typically when I make breadcrumbs, I'll use stale bread. I just feel like it has a little bit more of a flavor to it. But our sourdough had a little bit of a sourness to it, so we're going to be using that.
It tasted good. It tastes fine to me.
Exactly. So I had the 2 loaves of sourdough that we made in the oven, broken up into pieces for 3.5 hours at 200 degrees.
Yes.
All right? So Sienna is going to take over the rest of making breadcrumbs.
Yes, I am. Let's make some breadcrumbs. Thank you. Ooh, that's heavy for bread. Okay. So,
I'm just going to get this out of your way.
Perfect.
You need to pick up the food processor, put it on the counter.
There's so many steps to this. I thought this was easy.
Just put it on the side.
Hold on. I got a clear room.
She's a pretty woman. She's also a strong boy. Let's get lifted.
Am I though? Is it gonna fall? Okay. Oh, it's heavy.
It's a food processor.
Oh my god. Okay.
Perfect.
I don't know how to use this, full disclosure. Okay.
Alright, so I have the food processor completely set up for you. You're just using your standard mixer thing. Here,
Okay. The blade?
Yeah, the blade. Yes, come through with the words. You want to show them the blade that we're using?
Does this...
Yep, just lift it up.
The whole...
Yep.
Oh.
Instagram hands.
YouTube.
Whatever. And then just spin it until it drops.
Oh.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So you're gonna get as much of the breadcrumbs in there as you can.
Okay. So, for the breadcrumbs, like Anita said, we normally do about 4 cups of breadcrumbs. You're going to bake those on a cookie sheet, 200 degrees in the oven for about 2 to 3 hours. And then after we get these all crumbled, we're going to add our spices. So let's see how much of this bread we can get into this mixer. Okay. Come on.
Perfect.
That's good?
Yep.
Okay. This goes
Okay, so
moving
you,
this way.
yep, but you have to tilt it on
Okay.
first in the back and
Right.
then
Sure.
pull it.
Yep.
There you go. Okay, so the most
Yes.
important thing when you're doing breadcrumbs is A, that it is completely dry. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna find your biggest piece and you're gonna break it. If it cracks like that, that means that it's completely dried out and there's no moisture in it. If there is moisture in it, it's going to go bad and get moldy. All right, because moisture breeds mold. So as long as this is completely dry, it should last in a mason jar for at least a month. All right?
Okay. How
So-
about that?
With the food processor, you want to make sure that you pulse it. You don't just turn it on. If you just turn it on, you're going to get flour again. It's just
Okay.
going to dry. It's just, you're going to get powder at the bottom.
So just pulse, no
Yep.
on.
So
So
you're
I'm
just
just
gonna,
on then pulse?
you can turn it on until it starts to break down, and then turn it off, and then pulse it. Perfect.
know when to stop.
See all the big pieces? You
Yeah.
want those to go.
Okay.
Alright, I think that's
We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God.
Okay, so now she's gonna take.
Hold on. Oh, there's buttons. Okay.
Alright, so she needs the mason jar with the spoon on, please.
Okay.
And as I've said before, I really like to keep a lot of the stuff that I make at home in mason jars because they're made to preserve your food. We don't put preservatives in our food when we're at home, and there is like a seal on the top of the mason jars, so it will preserve the majority of the things that you put in there.
Okay, we're gonna open up our mason jar. And then I'm going to assume we put in our breadcrumbs, and we're gonna go right up until 4 cups.
Yep.
Yes, 4 cups.
And what I'm going to do while she's doing that is I am going to start getting our dough ready. So when you're kneading dough, the most important thing
Does this
that
come
you
off?
remember.
Okay. Well,
Can I just get this out for you?
Sure, go for it. Thank you.
These are very sharp. Do not let your kids do this.
But she lets me do it.
Okay. So like I was saying, the most important thing about kneading dough is when you're kneading it, you want to make sure that you're pushing the top of the dough into the bottom of the dough. You don't want to push it so hard that you're pushing into the counter because that A is a lot of work and B, you're going to be stretching it too much. So when you are...
Oh, and there's still some big pieces. I'm going to pulse it a little more.
Alright, you pulse and I'll knead.
Wait, I need the like...
Oh, you gotta pour that out a little bit.
Huh?
Actually... Here. You got bread in the middle.
You did that. There we go.
Alright, there you go.
Okay, and it goes to the back.
We'll take a little break while she does that because you're not going to be able to hear me over a food processor.
Well, you don't want big pieces in your breadcrumbs, right? Okay. Is this on all the way? We're gonna find out. Why?
Just turn it.
No, why is this doing this? Help.
It's just because it's fine. Beautiful.
Much better.
Okay, so like I was saying, when you're kneading the dough, you want to make sure that you're pushing the top into the bottom and not the top into the counter because you're going to be putting too much pressure on the dough. When you're kneading, it's just a very delicate process. It doesn't have to be a lot of work. And this dough is super easy to come together. You only need to knead it for less than 5 minutes. And what you're just looking for is for it to be elastic and smooth. And you'll know the difference. The difference between the dough when it is not smooth is when you start to stretch it, it's gonna look kind of like pop marks.
Oh, okay.
Wow, like bad skin. And when you're done, it's gonna look like smooth skin. So,
How much is 4 cups?
there's a
Where's the-
4 on the side.
I see. I didn't know where I was.
The best part about breadcrumbs is you can use any stale bread that you have at home. Obviously not if it's moldy, but you can just break it up, put it in the oven, 200, get all the moisture out of it, and go from there. Like I said earlier, I do like it a little bit better when the bread is stale because it does have a little bit more of a flavor to it. But fresh bread works also. So this is what it's like having help in the kitchen, huh?
Don't get used to it.
I won't.
Is this 4 yet?
I think that's exactly 4.
Good, because I wasn't doing it again.
Beautiful.
There's so much
I'm gonna get rid of
breadcrumbs. You put that to the side.
Have you eaten today?
I have not, as requested by the viewers.
You don't get to look like this by not eating. I've eaten.
Oh, wow.
I've had my 3 square meals of the day and I'm ready for dinner too.
Okay, so while you're continuing to knead that dough, we're gonna add in our spices. Forgot what they were called. They're called spices. So we're gonna go ahead and add these in. I'm gonna show you what you always wanna put in and then what you can feel in if you're feeling a little zesty. Okay, so you're always gonna wanna put in 2 teaspoons of salt, which is the white one right here. We're gonna go ahead and pour these in. Yep. Okay, and then you're always gonna wanna put in 2 teaspoons of pepper. This is just regular black pepper, right?
Yep.
Okay, put that in there. Okay, and now we're going to grab 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Okay, and then we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of onion.
It was with the garlic.
Thank you. Okay, and then
We ran out of ramekins.
yes. Okay, so you could stop here, and this is perfectly fine. But we like to make things a little Italian, a little zesty, have a little more kick to it. So we're also going to add in 2 teaspoons of parsley, which is this green stuff right here, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And now we're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of oregano, and then 1 teaspoon of basil. Okay, and then once you have all of that in your mason jar, we're gonna go ahead, put the lid on nice and tight, and also give this a nice little shake. And there you go, Italian breadcrumbs. Look at that.
I know it's going to sound a little funny to be putting salt in the breadcrumbs, but like I said, we don't have any preservatives in there. So what the salt is going to do is it's going to help absorb any moisture that's in there, so you don't have to worry about mold.
Perfect.
Yeah. And the timing of that is absolutely perfect because I am done kneading the dough.
Perfect, and it's time for me to take another step.
Okay, so when you're done, you should have a nice smooth ball that looks just like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this into a glass bowl. You can use a plastic. I prefer glass because you want the dough to be able to climb up the sides of it. And you have to be careful with plastic because it's porous. You know what that means, right?
Yeah, I do.
So there could be bacteria in there even if it's washed. So like I said, you're going to put this in a glass bowl. You're going to put shortening around the inside of the bowl. And then you're going to cover it with a wet cloth with warm water. And when it comes out,
Oh, wow.
it should be double the size. Would you hold that up?
Yeah.
So it's small and tight when you put it in, and it is,
Sorry, I thought I saw something over there.
and it will be double the size and very smooth when it's finished.
Yes.
So like I said, this is gonna go in for about an hour. And then what you're gonna do is you're going to take it out onto your floured surface.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get this one in there so it's gonna be ready for us
Yep.
in 1 hour. And what I like to do is I like to put it on the couch and I like to put a blanket below it and above it so that way it maintains its temperature.
Perfect.
So I'll pretend like my couch is right there. Beautiful. Okay, so now at this point your dough is full of gas from the yeast. 'Cause
Okay.
This is our first yeast, right? Our first yeast dough?
I don't do math.
Okay, so what the yeast is gonna do
Sure.
is because it's eating all of the...
Excuse me?
It's eating.
Okay.
It's gonna produce gas and air.
This is very much like I Love Lucy.
So what you wanna do is you wanna degas the dough.
Okay.
So all you're gonna do is you're gonna knead it for like 10 seconds.
That's it?
You really just want to be able to smash some of the air out of it.
Okay.
So, and when you do it, the bread is gonna fart. So, it's just the air coming out of it. So what you're gonna do is, after you're done kneading it, you are going to make sure it's in the shape of the pan that you're gonna bake. And you're going to take the same shortening and you're going to grease the pan with it. Again, for the same reasons. It's gonna grow and expand. So you want it to be able to slide around
Okay.
and do its thing.
Is there anything you should use specifically to grease the pan? Butter, Crisco, Cam?
I
Matter?
very specifically like to use Crisco for this.
Okay.
A lot of my recipes, I will say that you can use butter, I would very specifically suggest against using butter for this.
Why?
I don't know the scientific reason.
Okay, just
but,
preference. Okay.
I
strong
do know
preference.
that I don't know if it's butter is more fatty, but the dough does slip down the sides when you use butter.
Okay.
So you're not going to get that full raise out of it. Okay, so I've removed the gas from this, and now I'm going to put it into my greased pan. I only have one bread loaf pan, so it's going to look very different in the two. But what we're going to do is we're going to put this in here, and then I'm going to get my other pan that is already prepared. And like I said before, you're going to take a towel or a cloth napkin, you're going to wet it with warm water and just lay it over the top just to keep the moisture in. So we're just going to switch.
Well,
But look how much larger it is now.
this is after resting.
Yep, this is resting after another hour.
Jasmine, you can go ahead and add whatever you want to your breadcrumbs. You can add some adobo in there, and I'll be right over to eat whatever you make.
I do like putting thyme and rosemary in my breadcrumbs.
Okay.
If you do thyme and rosemary, please, please, please make sure that you put them through a mortar and pestle. You put them through your food processor, something, because you don't want big pieces of rosemary and thyme because it's like bark and it's it's gross.
Okay.
Okay, so from here, like I said, this is just a standard white bread. If you want, what you can do is you could put olive oil on the top and you could put some herbs on top or a little bit of salt or something. I plan on using this for sandwiches, so we won't be putting anything on it. So you're gonna put this, you're gonna turn your oven on at 425 for at least 20 minutes. Okay. So this is proving for the second time for an hour. So after 40 minutes, turn your oven on to 425 and let it get really hot. Make sure it's 100% at 425. Before you put it in, turn your oven down to 375 and put the bread in for 40 minutes. And when it comes out,
We'll just switch these out.
it's going to look like this. So it's going to raise up just a little bit more if you look at them side by side. It's not going to be that much bigger. It probably grew maybe half an inch. But you want to make sure that you have an even color on top. And the most important thing about bread is if you turn it over when it's coming out of the oven and you tap the bottom, it should have the same sound up and down, and it should sound hollow. If it doesn't sound hollow, that means there's still moisture inside and it's raw.
Just like the challah bread.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, we made challah bread.
We did.
That had yeast in it also. Okay. So, I think that's it.
Is that it? Oh no.
So,
It went by so fast. I really enjoy our time together, don't you?
so our show is coming to an end. Tomorrow is the last day of Bread Week. So, I want you all to tell me, do I keep her? Do I send her packing?
Oh my god. Do I sachet away? Oh wow, this drink is getting to me. Woo!
Do I have her on 1 day a week? Do I have her on 2? I'm going to leave that 100% up to you guys. So if you want to start an argument on Facebook.
Yes, if you want to see more of me, give me more chances to wear some of these wigs, some of these gowns, my jewelry, keep me on.
Or if you want to see less of her and a little bit more of me, you can just let us know.
But either way, I will still be sipping behind the camera.
Okay, guys, thank you again for watching. My Venmo is Anita_Manager.
And mine is Sienna Rose Official, just like the Instagram.
And make sure that you sign in tomorrow and watch our last day of Bread Week.
Yes, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.